Hi friends! Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to give you an update and let you know some sad news, and you may have already seen this when I posted on social media a few weeks ago. Our dog Griffin has passed away. I know that many of you enjoyed watching him in our videos. Several of you have noticed that he has been limping for a few months now. He actually had a liver tumor that was diagnosed back in May. He got steadily worse and eventually he was unable to walk. Griffin was 9 years old and we have had him since he was a puppy. He has been the best travel companion and friend, and we will miss him terribly. We are so glad that he got to spend this first year on the road with us. He loved meeting new people and exploring new places, and he brought so much joy and comfort into our lives and the lives of everyone he met. He was the perfect dog for us. I'm so glad that his ashes will be buried on our main land so that we can keep him close to us in the future. You will see a glimpse of him in today's video because I filmed this earlier in the summer. So we just wanted to share that with you and thank you again for being part of our journey. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about some simple decoration modifications that you can make to your RV. Now I'm sure all of you have seen major RV renovations on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. They're gorgeous. They have farmhouse sinks and beautiful furniture, and they tear out all the original RV stuff and put in new modern things, and it looks beautiful. But as we all know, that is a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort, especially when you're painting cabinets and walls. So today I just want to show you a few simple things that I've done to spruce up my RV with a little bit of color and patterns and texture that are not going to break the bank, and they're very simple, crafty projects. Now, I'm a little bit lucky because we were able to buy an RV that already has these beautiful white cabinets, which you know is my favorite thing about this. It's so light and airy in here. So I'm lucky that I didn't have to paint any cabinets, and I like the wall color. So today we're focusing on some window boxes to make, not curtains, but to change out the fabric in the window boxes. We're going to add some nightstands to our bedroom and a little shelf next to the recliner. And I'm going to do something with these black holes that are in the some of the cabinet doors here. So stay tuned. Today's project is a little nightstand project for me. I'm so excited that we're gonna take care of this finally because I've been struggling with it for months. RV manufacturers are doing a little bit better with nightstand solutions now, but especially if you option in a king size bed like we have, there's limited room on the sides of the bed for nightstands, and sometimes all you get is this little shelf where you can charge your cell phone maybe. So I bought these two little drawer units when we first started out RVing last year, and I just silicone taped them to the wall because I didn't want to screw into the wall, and they worked fine for several months, but then the tape started pulling away, so I've got this pillow holding it up, but if I take the pillow away, it just falls right down. But I love these little drawers. Jason has figured out a way that we're gonna build a shelf right here to hold these things and make a little bit more permanent nightstand.
Dry fit this. There. Sweet. And this actually will come back here more.
And here, try the shelf on it.
That looks pretty slick. You'll
So we'll
either
have those
stack
side by
those
side.
or side by side because you have two.
Have a nice shelf. And then we'll do another one on Jason's side.
Very cool.
Great project and good design. Okay, all the pieces are cut, so we're just going to add some small L brackets to the legs to hold everything together, and then we'll install these. We'll probably paint them later, but we just want to get them in place right now so that we can use them for a little while. But that's not going into the wall, it's just going into the wood. We're going to connect it to this plywood here, which is the bed stand. That's an okay thing to screw into. Oh, I love my new nightstand shelf. It is great. Great size, great height. I'm so excited. Now, the next project in our bedroom renovation is to cover these curtain valance things. This is kind of leather, and it's just, I think maybe cardboard behind there or something. I'm gonna unscrew them, I'm gonna take them down and cover them with some nice curtain fabric and maybe brighten up this bedroom a little bit. Okay, our first step in getting this window box off of here is to unscrew all these little screws. I don't know if you can see, there's L brackets holding it all the way around, so it should be pretty easy to get off. So as you can see, this leather is just stapled onto here. There's no screws or anything. So that's my plan, is just to staple the curtain fabric on here. However, the fabric I have is a little bit sheer and this is really dark. So I'm gonna cover it with some white sheet fabric first. Just go buy a cheap sheet somewhere, kind of as a primer underneath so that the blue fabric will look a little better on top. These are the curtains that I used to have hanging in my house, and they match my bed set. I've just been carrying them around for the past year, waiting to cover these window boxes with them. All right. I've got all my pieces cut. I've got my white inside that I made from a sheet, and I cut up my curtain to fit 3 different pieces, and now we're just going to staple it on. We did it. Now it's time for this big window. Hopefully I can get it down from here pretty easily. Because this shade is not a full wraparound and I'm just going to cover these inside pieces, there won't be quite so much work. I think I'm just going to push it through the front and then maybe staple it on the back. Well, I wasn't sure how this was attached, but it looks like it's stapled into the wood. So I think I'm going to pop this off and cover it and then put it back on. I was trying to wedge the material through here, but it's very tight when it's down, so let's see if we can do it this way. Actually, those little staples that I took out of there are not going to go back in there, too flimsy, so I've got some longer staple guns here, 1/2 inch, and that'll go down nicely into this wood. This wood is really thick, so I'm just putting 1/2 inch staples in here and it's holding it nicely. Because I added thickness with this material, it made the top pad a little too thick for the staples. Even though I pulled 1/2 inch staples out of it originally, when I tried to put it back in with 1/2 inch staples, it would not stick. So I had to get a little creative and stapled around the edges of the material and at some sharper angles to get it to hold in there. I'm working on finishing up my nightstands today, and I need a paint match. I was going to paint it dark gray to match the wall, but it seems like to make it too dark back there. So I'm going to do it white like the cabinets here, because I think there's already white trim in there anyway, so that'll look fine. So I've taken off one of our smaller cabinet doors, and I'm going to take it down to the local paint store to get a paint match for it. I've tried to get replacement paint from Van Lee, and it's super expensive and they only give you a tiny little touch-up amount, so I figured this would be easier just to get a paint match and then we can have it for other projects. We want to round off the end of our nightstands because they're a little bit sharp when we're laying in bed.
You're a little bit sharp. It's good doing a practice run first.
Just sand that smooth.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think we'll sand down these
Okay.
as well. Like you'll sand it just to give that a little relief.
the same time that we did our nightstands in the bedroom, we built this little shelf next to the recliners as well. There was nothing here before, and we thought it would be a good way to be able to have a little storage space underneath. You can see the same legs here that we did on the nightstands. And we made this shelf extra long. Normally, you know, you'd stop here at the end of the recliner, but Jason really wanted an extra space there at the end to put his large water cups. And when the recliner is pulled out, the arm actually comes to the end of that shelf. So even when you're sitting on the couch, it sticks out a little bit, but it's not in the way of anything. So we like that extra space. And we're always fans of going bigger and better instead of smaller. Well, I was so pleased with how my bedroom curtains turned out that I decided I'm going to do all of the ones in the living room as well. And at first I thought I wanted color out here, but the more we looked at different fabrics and stuff at stores, the colors just seem so busy and loud, and because there's a lot of windows here. Even though it's only around the corners, I thought colors would be too much. So we like this neutral palette. We like the kind of modern farmhouse look. And then I was looking through my bin of like material scraps and stuff that I've been carting around with us for the past year. And I realized that I have enough material from an old upholstery project that I had done when we were in Sticks and Bricks. I covered some wingback chairs at our house, and I actually made some pillows that matched the fabric of the chairs, and we use them all the time, and I love this fabric. So I was looking in my box and I realized I have enough fabric to cover all of these windows, and I love this pattern. So I got some and I pinned it up to this window over here just to see how it would look, and I really like it. So we're going to take down all of these window boxes. It'll probably take a few days to get them all done, and I'm so glad we got free material that I already had, and it's going to look really great. Finding that the easiest way to loosen these panels is just to push from the front, and they will pop pretty easily because the staples are very small and they're pretty easy to take out. And then you can remove the staples with pliers after you get the panels out. Here's a little tip when cutting your fabric. Don't forget that because these are padded, they have thickness, and it's going to take more material to cover them. So if you just measure in between the wooden parts of the frame, I measured 5 inches, but once the pad is off and it has thickness to it, it's going to take 8 inches of fabric to cover this hump and have an inch on either side to staple into. So make sure you're measuring your fabric accurately. Because I'm working with some fabric that I already had, I've had to get a little creative about fitting all of the fabric on. I have just enough. So what I've done is, instead of wrapping the fabric around the back to staple it, I've just basted it with some simple stitches along the side. That will give me the maximum amount of fabric that I can work with, and I don't want to waste any by putting it on the back. And then another trick that I found is, when I'm stapling this in to the space, it's hard to get the staples to go through the pad and into the wood without splitting the wood or going through the wood. Sometimes the staple goes into the pad and not into the wood. Sometimes it goes all the way through. So what I've done is, you know how on the back of picture frames sometimes there's staples in there, then you have to bend the staple to get the back of the frame out? Well, that's what I'm doing here. I'm just putting the staple straight into the wood and to hold the pad down instead of trying to put it through the pad. That's working a lot better. Sometimes I can get the staple to go through on the ends though, because that's a thicker piece of wood, so that works out well too. Just a note, if you are taking off these window boxes from a Van Lee Villano, and it may be the same in other brands of rigs as well, if the window box is underneath a cabinet like this, it may be screwed up into that cabinet. Now, on this big dining room window, there's nothing screwed above either of these windows. Just the screws that are on the sides are holding it in. So I didn't expect that there would be top screws here, but there were 4 screws. So just be careful when you're when you take the side screws out, if it doesn't come down, don't force it. There may be screws along the top too. And that might mean that you have to take out the shade railing. You may have to get your finger up there and pop it out so you can access those screws. But just be careful, you'll figure it out. We're not going to replace those screws that go up through because, like we said, they don't seem to be necessary to hold the window box in place, and it's really difficult to get those screws in there and then click in the shade after the fact. It's much easier to click in the shade before you put it back up. Whatever's easiest, whatever works for you. For my last project, I'm going to work on these cabinet doors that have this brown panel and this glass on it. I'm not sure how many of these I want to do, so I'm going to do a little experiment just to see how it looks. But this is glass, and then behind there's just a wooden panel held in with staples. So I think it'll be pretty simple to take those staples out and do some kind of decoration in these. They're all over the cabinets, and I really wish that they were all just white. I would like that better, but it is kind of an opportunity to do something a little artistic or crafty there. So what I've got is, you see on my fridge, we have our little magnet collection. This is our domestic travel. This is our international travel for those who are interested. But last year, before we got in the RV, we went to Acadia National Park here in Maine. And I bought this little set of retro-looking national park postcards. And so I thought these would go great with my magnets over here in this corner. So since I have extra white paint from when we did the nightstands, I want to take out these panels, paint them white, and then maybe mount some of these postcards in here of the parks that we have been to. This is interesting. I got this panel out of here, and I was worried if I try to restaple this in here, am I going to break the glass? But you can see that the glass is sitting down in there, and there's a good sized lip here where the panel sits where the glass is not. So when I staple back into there, I won't have to worry about hitting the glass by mistake because there's plenty of room there. That should make this a little easier. Now, this panel is just a veneer. It's very shiny and smooth, but if you've ever tried to paint this kind of shiny veneer stuff with latex paint, you know that it doesn't stick very well and the paint will kind of bead off and you might have to do several coats. Well, I'm going to sand this very lightly, and then I've got some bonding primer spray paint that I'm going to prep it with so that my latex paint will stick on it really well. Well, I got the panel out and the glass out, and I've run into a little snag. This glass is tinted, which I was not prepared for. So even if I paint it white behind it, if I put that glass back in, it's just gonna look gray. So that's not gonna work. So I think I will still paint the wood panel and put it back in the door. I may just not have glass in front of it, which would probably be fine. Or I could go get some plexiglass cut of the same size, which probably wouldn't be very expensive, and I could put that in. We'll see. Well, I decided that that tinted glass on the front of the cabinets is not going to work because if I paint the panel white behind it and put that tinted glass on, it's not going to match the other cabinets anyway. I could leave the glass off, but if I want to put some artwork on there, I like the idea that it's behind glass to make it look like a picture frame. So I've actually decided that brown looks more like a picture frame than the white cabinets. We're going to leave this brown, and then I've bought some clear plexiglass. I'll peel off the little film here. And I can just cut this plexiglass. It's actually a little bit lighter than the what's in there and will be better for traveling. And then I can put the art behind it on the brown panel, and I think that will look like a nice picture frame. So let's see what we can do. Oh, Jason's helping his uncle do some siding on his house today, so I'm going to take advantage of his garage and do this little project. The trick when cutting plexiglass with a box cutter is to go over it several times. Don't just score it once or twice because it won't snap cleanly. At least 10 or 12 times you want to score this, and then hopefully it will snap without cracking the rest of the panel. Get it on a nice sharp edge before you try to snap it. Well, the short piece snapped off fine, but the long piece did not, and it cracked right across the middle. So now I'm back at Lowe's to buy another piece. I was not intending to spend this much on this project, but here we are. And lo and behold, the second time I came back, I found out that Lowe's will cut the plexiglass for you. So now I have 3 perfectly cut pieces of plexiglass. I got some extra. Everything's good. Okay, I think those look really good. I like the brown behind them. I'm just gonna wait until I get home and install them before I peel off this film on the plexiglass, but I'm really glad with how that turned out. Nice. Well, I am super happy with how these projects turned out. And you know, if you're a crafty person and you like to do little crafts with materials and cutting boards and paint, these are super accessible and easy projects, and you can do them a little bit at a time, and eventually your RV will be spruced up and decorated. So I hope you got some good ideas this week, and we will see you next time. Hope you have a great week. Bye, guys.